Hello and welcome to Discover Tech Host Academy. My name is Heather Leavitt Martinez, and I am honored to live and work in the lands of the indigenous Ute, Pueblo, and Anasazi people, past, present, and future. If you're interested in giving a land acknowledgement, but you don't know whose land you're living on, you can visit www.native-land.ca. And I would love, Tina, if you don't mind putting that into the chat. And let's go ahead and get started to talk about Tech Host Academy, but to also learn a little bit about all of you. And so here is a slide that I commonly use. If you'd like to have this slide, I can make it available in the follow-up email, just so that you have it should you ever want to also encourage others to give a land acknowledgement as well. Now, when I'm meeting with a group, I like to ask two questions to get to know you. Where are you dialing in from? And who's in the room? And so the first thing I'm going to do is, and I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory or a little bit of behind the scenes. Whenever you're setting up an annotation screen, you want to make sure that you're enabling the annotation for others and you're hiding their names. So I'm going to move to the next screen, and I want you to locate where you are on this chart. And the way you're going to annotate is if you have all of your tools at the top of your screen, and you see either the annotation tool or view options next to where it says you are seeing Heather's screen, something like that, view options, go down to annotate and click the stamp tool. And you can choose whatever stamp tool you like. It can be a heart, a check, a star. If you're not finding it, again, it's view options and then down to annotate. But if you are dialing in on something different, go ahead and put it in the chat. Where are you dialing in from? Excellent. So I said before that I wanted to protect your identity. Now I did hide the names of the annotators. Otherwise your name would show up wherever your cursor was clicking. But it looks like Susie went ahead and put her name in an arrow. So that's totally fine. But just know, Susie, that you're going to be on this call. It's great to see you.
I didn't know what it would do.
That's good. Well, part of the fun part about tech hosting and being online is let's experiment. And for any of you that know me, you know me that I love it when things break, because that's when we learn. So excellent. All right, it's great to see everyone here. And so we also have a few others in the chat, Avignon, France, Frankfurt, Germany, and Vancouver, Canada. So wonderful. I like to tease that I'm so bad at geography that I say I'm terrible at geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and try to stamp you in here where I think that is. Excellent. And driving in West Michigan. Well, thank you so much for letting us know, Angela. It's great to see you here. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick save of this image. Again, this is not something that I usually say when I'm tech hosting. However, I also know that I like to show you all the background of what I'm doing as well. And so now what you can do is go ahead and, you don't have to close your annotation screen, but I am going to clear this out. First, I also want to back up. Sometimes what I do is I take a picture of it as well. And that's just I'll just take a screenshot of it. And then my next piece is that I'll clear this out and wait before we get to the next one. And what I'd like to know is who is in the room. Are you a meeting organizer? Are you a facilitator, trainer, or presenter? Are you a meeting attendee? Do you just like to come to meetings and you're curious about tech hosting? Are you a volunteer tech hoster? Or are you something else? And if you're something else, feel free to put that in the chat, or you're welcome to unmute and let us know if you're not one of these other categories. Excellent. So if you're a meeting organizer, you're responsible for the meeting. The facilitator, trainer, or presenter, they really lead the meeting or they're in the spotlight. And the meeting attendee or volunteer is someone who's, again, you're just curious about maybe what tech hosting is all about. So this is what I'm interested in, is what value or special skill do you bring to online meetings? Love to see that in the chat, or again, feel free to unmute. And if you're that other person, love to know how you would identify in terms of your role in meetings. So what special value or special skill do you bring to online meetings by being in this role?
Hey, Heather, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So just a quick comment from my side. I'm Craig. I'm from the U.S. Western New York. I would say what I would bring is I try to make a connection between the material being presented and the, let's say, the acknowledgement or the learning of the participants. So usually my trainings are anywhere from, let's say, 5 to 12 people. And I
Mhm.
like to have visuals and just to see, is everyone connecting with the material? What changes do we need to make? Excuse me. So I pay a lot of attention to being able to, again, connect my audience with the material to make sure they leave with an understanding of what was covered.
Excellent. I love that you're using visuals. How are you presenting those, if you don't mind?
I'm using anywhere from, let's say, a Word document
Mhm.
to Microsoft Whiteboard to interactive cards on a ideas board,
Mhm.
also for a moderation card. So I try different things just to see kind of what connects in the tech savviness of the attendees.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Anyone else? How are you bringing value or what's your special skill? Great. So we have humanizing the virtual trainings, counseling approach and design thinking. Same role this person does that they feel that they do in person, being the nurturer protector. That's excellent. Averill, do you have something to share? Yeah.
Enthusiasm, friendly, welcoming personality, visual skills, and applied improv.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So while I have known Averill for many, many years, and she was so gracious to write the introduction to my book, um, I've never experienced Averill. We've worked online and we've delivered online, but I don't think I've ever been to a class where you've been online. Do you have any upcoming classes that we can experience your expertise?
Classes?
Yeah.
Um, I'm not teaching anything these days,
Okay.
but I would be happy to organize a connection cafe for you, and you could experience an hour and a half of applied improv, purposeful fun.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Averill. Oh, this is great. Anyone else would you like to unmute? We've got great stuff in the chat. Yep, using PowerPoint slides in the background and standby camera in front of the green screen, which is laid out. Yes, we're going to get into some of this geeky stuff too as well. Okay, I'm going to clear this out. I want to thank everybody for participating. You can close your annotation windows for now, and we might be using them, and we will be using them in the future. So I do want to cover the agenda. It's a very casual conversation, though I am presenting a lot, and there's a little bit of interaction and activity here. We're going to talk about what tech hosting is. I will share a little bit about myself and why I built Tech Host Academy and why now, where tech hosting belongs in your life, and how you can enrich your online experience and that of others by becoming a tech host. And at the end of today's call, I am going to offer an opportunity to join Tech Host Academy and at an introductory price for those who want to join Tech Host Academy. And I'm going to say today, you've got a little bit of time, but I will tell you, I am going to be going mainstream with this and evergreen with it. So you might start to see some webinars out there on tech hosting, and the price is definitely going to change. So I can't say exactly how much time you have, but the sooner the better and the more support that you'll get. So, what is tech hosting and how did I get started in tech hosting? So, for me, I define tech hosting as having a technical host in a virtual environment who supports the presenter and the participants to meet the purpose of the session. But it was really hard for me to distill that down into such simple terms. What I would like to know from you, and actually you can turn on your annotation screen if you'd like to use that to type, or feel free to put in the chat, what is tech hosting to you? And this can be a formal definition, or it can be a little bit more qualitative in terms, or quantitative in terms of how you view tech hosting. And I know it's a little hard to say the words. So again, feel free to unmute and you can just start talking it out. It's kind of hard to refine that into a definition.
For me, I thought tech hosting was actually just a more contemporary term for people who are doing their job virtually. So for trainers or people who are interacting more, again, either Teams or Zoom, whatever the medium is, I thought that was kind of that term was,
Hmm.
yes, I'm tech hosting now.
Hmm. Excellent. Thank you. Maria is saying, oh, it's going really fast. I would add in the notion of providing welcoming space. Absolutely. Support and help. Yes, wonderful. People doing their job virtually. That's right. Brian, I love it. The technical host manages the virtual space for the online meeting. Responsibilities include sending preparatory videos, startup guides in advance of the event, orienting participants to the technology platforms, managing online content, and troubleshooting with participants as need arises. That's absolutely true. And there is a spectrum of what we can do in tech hosting. And so even though Brian is an incredible expert. He doesn't know the entire or maybe you do know the entire curriculum of Tech Host Academy. There's a lot that hasn't been revealed yet, but all of these things that Brian is pointing out, it gets covered in Tech Host Academy. So ensuring a safe, productive space in an often intimidating space, managing the breakout sessions. That's definitely a technical part of that. This is fantastic. Deb, you had something you wanted to share.
Well, I was just going to say that this conversation has just reminded me my experience when I think of tech hosting. It's really been the behind the scenes, watching the chat, helping people if audio or technical issues. But I'm loving the idea of expanding that view to as a facilitator and a host. So it's more about engaging and creating that safe space. So I love that this is encompassing sort of all those elements.
Absolutely. And I think when we first started, and I would say when those who just first started being in online, they probably thought, I need someone to help me with some of this technical stuff, especially if they're a facilitator and trainer. So I personally am both facilitator, trainer, and I can tech host a lot of my own sessions, but I love having a tech host with me because then it frees me up to really present or to facilitate. And I think we're finding now that we do have to have many hats, wear many hats and many roles as we're in the online environment. And as Rosita is saying, I would agree that for her personally, it combines being the host and the trainer and the facilitator. So some of us are doing all of these things, but it's not required to do all of these things. You can be just a tech host, just tech hosting, and still be able to bring a lot of value. I do want to just a quick side note. I don't think I have this in my presentation today, but in my head, I want to let people know that 30% of all of the work I did last year was purely tech hosting. So that means 30% of my income, that was additional income that I had just from tech hosting. But almost 100% of what I did online last year had some type of tech hosting skill associated with it. So this is fantastic. Thank you everyone for sharing your definition, what it means to you. And also I want to recognize that some of you in the room, this may be a whole new concept. So just think technical stagehand, right? So if you're behind the scenes and you're doing this type of work. So let me tell you a little bit about how tech hosting Tech Host Academy started and a little bit about my journey. So in 2018, I offered my first live online lettering class, Lettering with the Masters. Actually, no, I did a few before that, but they were sort of trial runs. But this was the first one where I actually had a real, I would say, producer, not so much a tech host, but really a producer. And I'm not sure if Zandra Dirks is on the call. I saw her flutter in and then maybe a fluttered out.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, there she is. Yay. Hi, Zandra. So Zandra, also known, we also like to call her Digital Dirks.
Digital Dame Dirks.
Digital Dame Dirks. Thank you, Zandra. So good to see you. Zandra and I have taught several classes about how to use Neuland analog tools in virtual environments. But it was back in 2018 where she showed me the power of OBS, how to have layovers, how to create a really nicely produced screen. Now, Brian's putting his thumbs up, and I'm always going to point people who want to learn about OBS to Brian or Muddy, because it's not something I do. In fact, what you're going to find in Tech Host Academy is we have these experts that are at production level. And I like to keep things really, really simple because honestly, if you've ever watched me graphic record live or watch me do anything live, I'm pretty much a klutz. I really am. And if I'm playing with OBS and switching out screens, I usually get them all messed up. But it was in that Lettering with the Masters that I really understood the power of what it means to do things and deliver online live. And I just want to thank Zandra for being such an inspiration there. And then the pandemic happened. So that was a long time. We're talking a couple of years here. And I had this idea in the pandemic. I knew right away that everyone was going to be online. It was there, right? We all knew that. But my idea was that back in 2016, which we don't have room on this timeline, is that I was working with calligraphers and I wanted them to teach online. And they literally laughed at me. Like, so many of them were like, that's never going to happen. I love being in my studio. I just want pen to paper. I'm never going to teach online. And it wasn't until the pandemic that I realized they're going to need to be online now. And here's our opportunity to help them. So what I did is in April of 2020, the Grove came out with a wonderful class for managing online facilitation. Brian Turallo and Malgosia was teaching it at the time. I believe, Brian, you're still teaching this at the Grove with others. Yeah.
Teaching it today, actually. I'm gonna have to leave for that, but yeah.
Okay. Good to know. And there was a crazy wait list, like for months, people couldn't get into this workshop. So that was the piece. And at the time, it was such a risk I felt for me to take this because there were so many unknowns right at the beginning of the pandemic. I didn't have a lot of money. I just lost 90% of my income because everybody they were all in-person events. And so they all went away. And I took this class, and within 1 week, I was already helping facilitate and tech host other things. And then I took several workshops that Brian was teaching on online collaboration tools and design. I think that was along with Ray Ringel. And that had a huge impression on how I was designing these online events. But immediately, I was able to take the training that I got from these and get back a couple of my clients that were only using me for graphic recording. And I was able to do tech hosting and some online facilitation, helping them with online facilitation. So that investment that I made was so critical and was such a career trajectory change for me. Like I said, after that, I started tech hosting for corporations, national associations. And I got to say, once you tech host for a national association, all of those different chapters see you and say, we're going to need her in our next meeting. And so that led to a bunch of other work, nonprofits. But my real passion was helping the calligraphy community. There are several of you that are here today that we've met over the last couple of years, and you know that calligraphers, a lot of them had not been online before the pandemic. And so it was a big transition to be able to help with that. And I'm so happy to have done that. Then in June, I hired my first tech host, and I hired her to come in and help me with a class that I called Lettering Back to Basics Vacay. It was the live version of my free class, Unlock Your Neuland Markers. And I learned so much from her and really, truly the value of tech hosting. If you're anything like me, I don't always know the value that I bring to the room, but I see the value in others. And so it really helped me in that way. And then with some encouragement from Brian and others, I became a certified visual facilitator. And that, to me, I knew, okay, this feels a little bit more official. And at that point, even though I didn't have the name Tech Host Academy, I had a different name going on, I really started to develop out what was happening. So that means I was going to different workshops and things, and I was writing down what was working, what wasn't working. As a facilitator, I was writing down my wish list of what I wanted in a tech host, how I would help people become tech hosts. And then it was in April of 2021 that I started training. We called them tech wranglers, but I started training calligraphers and people that were supporting the calligraphy community to become tech wranglers at Legacies, the first international calligraphy conference that was then turned online. And that's where I built a small class called The Art of Tech Hosting for Calligraphy Guilds. Very, very niche and very specific. You can still find that online through the Texas Lettering Arts Council. But it was sort of just a beta test. So if you go in there and buy that at $39, I think it is, or $45 or something like that, it is really recordings of what we did prepping for the event. And that event was epic. We were able to tech host 200 sessions in 1 week. Brecken, Mikhail, and Tina were there to help me on that process. Some of you also, I see Karen is in the room. Sorry if I missed anybody else. Susie was there. She was fantastic in the aftermath as well to help me transition into this next part. And it was pretty incredible. We started with 90 tech hosts and we pared that down to 30, and I trained 30 tech hosts to pull that event off. And it was then that I realized we've got some momentum here and we have some really great tools to work with. And then in January of 2020, I want to go back actually and talk a little bit about April. That reason why that really sparked was I got very sick and I almost needed to come up with a triage plan of what am I going to do if I get sick and I can't do this anymore. So I knew that I wanted to create Tech Host Academy, or a place where people can learn about tech hosting, because that would be a future offering. And it was in January of this year that I decided that I am going to turn this into a system that can literally replace me. So I'm building an academy that a lot of people can get involved in, and so that hopefully it will last for a long time to come and keep iterating to meet the needs of online presenters. Okay, that's a mouthful. That's a lot. Does anyone have any questions for me about the process that I went through or the timeline? No? Sounds good. All right. Get a couple hand waves. All right. Excellent. So I'm curious to know a little bit more about you. And so I just want to do a quick erase here. I appreciate the check marks. It's going great, actually. And I'm much healthier now. And I want to know where you are on your tech hosting journey. So again, love for you to use your annotation tool if you have access to it, if not the chat. Where are you? Are you at the very beginning? Maybe you're not even sure what tech hosting is, or do you know how to allow people in, keep them muted? You know the basics of spotlighting, polling, breakout rooms, shared screen, managing the chat. Or are you co-designing, and are you a trusted advisor for those who are presenting or having online meetings? You have a repeatable, scalable process to get work and manage the participant journey and the experience. You have, someone erased their check mark. You are purpose focused. So you really are working to work on helping that group get to their desired outcome. Do you have meeting approach design? Can you help a client design their meeting? And do you know enough about online collaboration tools to answer those technical questions, to be able to troubleshoot and have that expertise? And do you have the presence necessary to really be a tech host, which means you're not in the spotlight, you are behind the scenes. And probably the more quiet you are, but the busier you are, the better you are as a tech host. Or are you producing or managing large scale events, Hollywood style? And when I say Hollywood style, I mean you've got several, you are in control of cameras, views, music, letting people in, of course, all of that. You're probably on a team of tech hosts, and maybe you have some experience with some high-end equipment or have that high-end equipment. All right, I knew we would get some drawings in here because we've got visual people on the line. So this is excellent. I'll let you continue writing there. That's great. Great, you're right there. What's wonderful about Tech Host Academy is we welcome everyone in this spectrum. And because we're working at all of these different levels, it's really necessary. And chances are is even if you're producing and managing Hollywood style, or at least large scale events, you're going to learn something from this process. It's going to validate what you already know, and it's going to give you some connections to get jobs elsewhere. So I'm going to do a quick countdown and then I'll take a picture. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Thank you so much. I love this. And I'm going to clear this out for now. We'll do a little bit, I think we'll do a little bit more here. And then, but I want to talk a little bit about what Tech Host Academy is. So we create impactful, equitable online environments, not Tech Host Academy, but the tech hosts that are learning in the academy. And our mission is to train those tech hosts to make meaningful online experiences for presenters, learners, and team members. These are our audiences, and we have very specific tools and techniques to support each one of those. And we are a value-based organization. So it's so important that we show up as tech hosts living through our values. And these are our main values. And in the course, you'll also learn a little bit about how these values are operationalized when we become tech hosts. Now, we are appreciative inquiry based. So that means the entire curriculum is based on appreciative inquiry, and the processes in which you work with your clients are also appreciative inquiry based. We talk about in the first section, really understanding the vitals, getting to know the client, and having presence with the client and presenters is actually very different than the kind of presence that you have with the participants. Together, we dream about what they need, and then we co-construct if that's our role. And we do identify that sometimes that's already taken care of, but I do give you the tools to help with approach and meeting design. And then of course, delivering in live sessions and maintaining those client relations. Oop, looks like I've got my animations a little bit out of order. That defining stage is where we really welcome you and clarify what is tech hosting. All right, so what's really fun about this is I've got to make it into a game. So with each lesson, you earn a badge. And so there are 10 lessons in Tech Host Academy that you can learn at a self-pace. When you enroll, you get access to all 10 of these. And they also go in order. So again, they are based on the appreciative inquiry on the framework. And you'll see here that it looks like it's a little bit of a scattergram, but it is very purposeful. So you have some things that are below the line. These are very easy to integrate. These are probably things that you can do literally within a couple of minutes, is to look at it and say, yep, I'm pretty sure I can do that. The tech check, delivering that is a different story, but learning what goes into a tech check, it's all very basic information. And then above that line takes a little bit more time to integrate. Now you are going to go through, if you choose to join us, you would go through the curriculum, just lessons 1 through 10. But when it comes to some of the harder things to develop, it's really about presence and then client relationships. But we give you the tools to be able to do that. And if you notice that the QS is the quick start method. So if you decided, hey, I want to do this immediately, you can take these 3 lessons and feel probably enough confidence to get you into a little bit of trouble, but to hang your shingle as a tech host and get started. We've got a couple of bonuses here. And I'm really excited to be able to talk about these monthly quest sessions because I get to bring in some of my favorite people to answer questions about technology, hybrid meetings, and online facilitation. And if you do your homework on Muddy, Lauren, or Brian, you'll know that their hourly rate is crazy because they are worth it. They are definitely worth the investment, but I'm able to bring all of us together so that we can ask these questions and get a lot of our questions answered by these experts. And Brian has taught me that one of the rules of group dynamics is that if one person has a question, chances are other people have the question, or you'd benefit from hearing the answer to that question. And so I thought, if I'm going to do this, I've got to bring in the best. So any questions about these folks? It's technology, hybrid meetings, online facilitation, and we also have folks that I've already lined up that are going to talk to us about presence, about how do we manage that client relationship. And I'll be giving a lesson on, it's actually called the winning formula to get hired. And I think I talk about this in the next slide. Yep. And this is where I want to give everybody $100, but you can't do that virtually. Well, you can't do that in an online meeting. I know Brian's going to tell me Venmo me now. But what I'd love to do is put $100 in your back pocket by helping you come up with your elevator speech, your differentiator, to really develop that in you so that you feel confident selling yourself as a tech host. I also give you a business case should you need it to help sell that to a client or to your boss if you'd like someone else to pay for your Tech Host Academy registration fee, and I give you the sales tools to do that. So I have a couple of slides. If you create pitch decks for your work, I have a couple of slides where you ask your client what they want, and then I show them that your tech hosting is going to give and answer that for them. And so I did some math. Know that this is, math on the fly, and I'm not that great at math, but I did have my husband, who's an accountant, check this for me. And I figured out what the value in 1 year would be. If you're charging a professional rate, so we're looking at between $100 and $200, what? You can get that for tech hosting? Yes. If you just did 1 call a month, it's for sure going to pay itself over and over again. And if you decide you want tech hosting to be a major part of what you're doing, and you do tech hosting once a week, then you can see that this can make a significant contribution to your annual income. And then, of course, there's so many supporting tools. So upon registration, you get the 20 plus page playbook. This is going to give you checklists, tips, literally what to do before the meeting, during the meeting, after the meeting, lots of different tips on how to take care of some troubleshooting. There's a lot in there, and it's what I've been developing for well over a year, and made for this class. You may have seen something similar in the calligraphy class, but this has all been updated and made for Tech Host Academy. You get a certificate of completion if you go through all the lessons and answer all of the assessments and meet with me for a one-to-one. And when you do that, you can also be included in the directory of tech hosts for hire. So I get a lot of people ask me, can you tech host this? I don't have time. So I love to be able to refer that out. Excellent. So Brian's saying that I'm being conservative, that they typically charge their clients $250 an hour for tech hosting. That is fantastic. If you go on Upwork, you'll see anywhere from $25 on up, and it really depends on what the skill level and the value it is that you're bringing. And then, of course, you get a cool backdrop, like you see Tina, Mikhail, and Brecken. They've got those behind them. So you get that so that at any time, if you show up in a meeting, everyone knows that you're the one that's the tech host. Brian made his own. Of course. And then there's going to be discounts on t-shirts if you want to show yourself off as a tech host. Again, it's just visuals to let those in the room know that you are the tech host and you're there to support. And of course, I never have a class without having incredible swag. Yes, you're going to get some swag in the mail, but I also make it available for you if you need some replacement swag. Okay. And so let's do a quick top 5 vitals that you need to have in order to be a tech host. Now, in the very first lesson, it's called vitals, and we have 8 vitals that we share. We use them with our clients, with our presenters, with facilitators, and we use them with our participants in different ways. But these are the 5 that you need to know now if you're thinking, can I be a tech host? Can I join Tech Host Academy? And so the 5 are, of course, computer, internet, video, audio, and lighting. But let's go through those. And I'm wondering if we can get that in the chat. Tina, I think, not sure if you have access to that, but it is in the Flow document. If you can share this. This is a handout, and I'll also put it in the email that's following up. And so let's quickly go through those 5 vitals. And yep, sorry. All right, so your computer. Are you up to date with technology? Now, if you're wondering, well, what speed do I need to be at or any of that, I'm not going to get into a bunch of technical things. Doesn't matter if you're a PC or a Mac, but I would say that if you haven't purchased a computer in the last 3 years, chances are you might want to put it in your budget to have an upgrade. And so you want to make sure that your computer has decent operating memory, a fast processor, and the hard drive space if you plan to process the videos. And we get into workflows in terms of how you can share out recordings and things like that in the course. But if you plan to download it, do any kind of post-production, or put it somewhere else, you're going to have some of that hard drive space. So ask yourself, is my computer up to date? Then the next thing I want you to think about is internet, and consistency wins every single time. So this is where in the call, I'm going to ask you to open up your browser. You're going to open up another window. And if you can just type in www.fast.com. Now I use fast.com because it doesn't have all these little things that are around the sides trying to sell it to you. But click that and see what your internet speed is. And if it seems really low or it seems really high, go ahead and click that little, it's like a little circle with an arrow on it again to see if it's the same or similar. And this is where you can start to look at your average. And it's not a contest, but I just want to see where everyone is. If you could please put that in the chat, what that number is, and if it ends with an Mbps or a KBPS. That's very important. Those letters behind are important. Yep, please add your speed to the chat. And I have people do this in a tech check session And I especially have my presenters do this because sometimes they realize, oh my gosh, I'm not fast enough. So how fast is fast enough? Everyone here is looking pretty good. I say if you want to be a tech host, you need to have 50 or above, but I'd love to hear Brian's thought on that. That's about average. It'll get you there. Okay, got a thumbs up. But when I took my virtual facilitation, when I was going for my virtual facilitation certification, I was told that you just had to have like 3 to 5. And I went, that's maybe to log on, but you're not going to have, you're not going to be able to interact much. Your video might not work. Many of us know that if you turn off your video, maybe it makes it a little bit faster. But if you're the facilitator or if you're the tech host, you need to have your video on. So a couple of quick tips. This might be worth dialing in if you have a very slow speed. A couple of things that you're going to want to consider is where are you dialing in right now in relationship to your modem or your router. If it's across the house or your apartment, there's several rooms in between, maybe even a bathroom, a kitchen. Think about all the structure in between. If you have it buried behind a bookshelf with clothes and books and stuff on top of it, you need to surface it to the rest of the world. It needs to see the light of day because that signal needs to be able to get to you. If you have it right next to your computer and you're plugged in, you're aces. If you're finding, well, wait a minute, it's not that fast, but I have a pretty good connection to it, then go ahead and contact your internet service provider and ask them, are you getting the fastest speed? They may be able to troubleshoot and help you with this. I will tell you that I had been tech hosting for about a year, and I came across a teacher who I truly loved. I knew she was tech savvy, but I had her go through this process anyway. And she seemed a little bit like, I'm not sure if I want to do all this. I said, believe me, it's going to help troubleshoot a lot of problems. And we found out that her modem went bad and she was teaching in 2 days. And so it gave her the time to go out and get a new modem. Had she dialed in the next day with that failing modem, she would not have been able to teach the class. They would have either had to postpone it or give everybody's money back. So I know this seems like a very simple thing, but, and I get to check my speed every single time I give a tech check. And I have to tell you, there are some times where I've had to call the internet service provider right after the call because I was afraid that my speed was an issue. All right, so there's your speed. For your video, other than those who have your videos turned off, and that's okay. I trust that you have video. It could be built into your computer, or you could have a webcam attached to it. As a tech host, as long as you are seen, that's the important part. And you want to make sure you've got great audio. Now you'll notice that Tina, Mikhail, Brecken, and I, even Deb, some other people, we have these over-the-ear headsets. And the advantage of having over-the-ear headset is that it's comfortable. You can wear them almost all day. I wouldn't say all day because we probably shouldn't be online that long. We've got a microphone right here. It helps our voice sound great. I tell people when they ask me, what headphone are you using? I like to tell them, well, I use the Logitech G433. It's a gamer's headset, and gamers spend a lot of time on their headsets. So I recommend those, but I also recommend checking out ones that, what do they sound like? Like look at the reviews and think about the sound. Some of them sound really tinny. Some of them actually have built-in sounds that make it sound like you're in a helicopter or something because, you know, they want to make it so real. But you want to have a nice deep, I like a nice deep voice. And when people ask me about, does it really help with audio? If I take this off, I sound like Minnie Mouse. No, I'm kidding. But the reality is you want good audio. It's just as important as video, and lighting is too. I'm looking around and everyone has excellent lighting here. Just know that if you have nice front lighting, you don't get any shadows on your face. If you have really bright side lighting or backlighting, it can be a distraction. Backlighting will make the person in front look a little bit darker. And when you can't see someone, sometimes they're not as trustworthy or their voices don't show up. And so knowing these vitals are not only going to help you, but it's going to help your facilitators, your presenters, and also your participants as well. So excellent. So how are you feeling? And here's where you can use your annotation tool. How are you feeling about all this information? And are you ready to become a tech host? Feel free to put annotate or put this in the chat. Okay, if you're scared, that's okay. Tina, Mikhail, and Brecken, I have hand picked them as my favorite people and tech hosts to work with because they are the best hand holders. They hold my hand, they hold each other's hand, and I've enjoyed watching them hold everybody else's hand. But I'm so excited that people here are excited and you can't wait to get started. Yay. And I do want to let you know that I will be offering, I'm going to make you the offer very, very soon. Just a couple of things here. I almost don't want to stop, but I am going to clear this out. I love having a timer, but I'm going to spend the next the remaining time answering your questions about Tech Host Academy. And then if you have questions that aren't related to Tech Host Academy, I'm happy to stay after the call and answer any of those questions as well. You've all been really wonderful. So feel free to unmute or put in the chat any questions you have about Tech Host Academy.
Heather, it's Tina. I'm going to jump in right away and ask, would you like me to add that special offer right now, or do you want to wait till after Q&A? Okay.
No, let's do it. Yeah, go ahead and add that. So this is a link that's going to take you to the registration page for Tech Host Academy. And this is an introductory offer. My coaches, because I've hired some coaches to help me create this, they are going to kill me when they find out that I've done this, that I've offered it at a very low price, and then I'm also offering it before I go big with everyone else. But I wanted to let my friends and those who are really keen to tech hosting and may have found me on Instagram or how I've been just slowly putting things out. So we got a great question here. I'm wondering about the content of the badges that are a higher degree of difficulty. Oh, that's an excellent question. If you have a specific badge that you're interested in, and I'm going to go back and show those because this I think is very important. Like I said, we do a lot of hand holding. And so when it comes to presence, and you'll notice that there are 2 classes in presence. There's 2 lessons in presence. The first one is your presence with your client and your presenter or facilitator. So how are you partnering? And then the presence when you are actually delivering, and the presence that you're holding the space for your participants. Those higher degrees of difficulty really is the inner work that you need to do for presence. But we have worksheets, we'll have live sessions where we talk about that. And if you're already a facilitator or a trainer, chances are your presence is really good. So you're fine for being a tech host. We also talk about what's triggering us, what's coming up for us, and how do we maintain that calm so that we can operate really well and hold that supportive space while things might get a little technically hairy. So let me know if that doesn't answer your question. Of course, things like troubleshooting and client relationships, that takes a little bit longer to develop, but that comes with experience. I didn't get as good as I am today in terms of the technical part of tech hosting by not doing it. It's from actually being in meetings, and you learn that over time. Are you going to learn every single possible thing that could go wrong? No, because if you're like me, I'm in a meeting and something new breaks every single day, but you are going to have access to me and all of our experts to be able to answer some of those technical questions. So hopefully that answered your question about the higher degree of difficulty. Though it might be harder, just know that some of these things are just going to take a little bit more work. Excellent.
Heather,
So
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm just going to chime in with an excellent question from April. She was asking about the pace, and I think that's just a great question. I'm going to let you answer it.
Yes. So how long is the program? You have access to the program for 6 months. However, you can binge watch all of these in a day. For those folks, so you can binge watch the lessons all in a day if you wanted, but you're still going to have to do the work, right? You're going to have to do some implementation. With each lesson, there is a quick assessment. It's usually just a few questions. I think the first assessment, it's longer because I want to know your vitals so that I can support you through the 6 months. And then you get access to me once a month. We have Q&A sessions, live Q&A sessions like this. And so you'll have access to that. And that's where you can ask lots of questions, and also the quest sessions. So every month we have a different expert that comes in and delivers some really great information, also answers that's also based on some of the questions you asked them before the session. And then of course, that's going to turn into a conversation and we'll go a little bit deeper. So you'll have 6 months access to all of this information. Does that answer your question about the timing?
Yes, thank you very much.
And how does that feel? Does 6 months feel like a good amount of time?
I think it's a good yes, and I like that it's got a deadline on it because I'm terrible with self-paced courses. I sign up for them and then I forget about them. So to know that there's a
Yes.
deadline is very important.
Exactly. Yes. So I designed that for you. I mean, maybe not for Averill, but I have the same issue. In fact, I went and did an inventory of everything that I paid for last year, and I was surprised at how many things that I never followed up on. So you will receive emails each time you complete a lesson. You'll get an automated email that also prompts you for the next step. I do midterm check-ins just to see where you are. Those live sessions, you're going to get reminders of those live sessions before we go live so that that'll cue you to come in. It doesn't matter. I will ask, where are you in the program? Not to judge how far you've gotten along, but really to support you and meet you where you are. So thank you for that question. That's excellent.
Actually, while Tina's looking, maybe just a quick comment. So if you don't mind, Heather, maybe I can stay afterwards with the team.
Sure.
I've been doing virtual training for about 2.5 years now, and I've been training salespeople. So I've trained about 130 salespeople in North America, Canada, and the US. And actually, I was asked to help with Australia and New Zealand. So really, two comments. One, I would like to see what can I do to help you with what you have set up here, which leads into my last comment, which is, I don't get the impression you or this team does anything. I can't think of a politically correct way of saying it. I think the quality, based on what I see here, is probably reflected also in the academy. So I think based on the value that you're offering, I would say there's definitely a lot here. So very impressed with your structure and what you have here. So
absolutely.
that's my
Thank
comments.
you so much. If you have a friend or a colleague that you think would benefit from this, I am happy to allow you to share that link with them. I just ask that you not post it on social media because I will be using social media later on down the road to help me market this. But if you have a close friend, colleague, or someone you think would benefit from TechHost Academy, they are welcome to join at this introductory offer. I love referrals. So thank you everyone for your time today. And I hope that you have wonderful, engaging, accessible, equitable meetings in 2022 and beyond. So I'm going to stop the recording for now. Thank you everyone for joining, and I hope to see you online again soon.